Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you could be here. Today we're going to be talking some Discworld. Let's go. So not long ago I finished Men-at-Arms. This is book 2 in the City Watch series by Terry Pratchett, and it fits into the larger Discworld universe that he wrote. And this was such a fun continuation from the story in Guards. As you well know, I put Guards on my top books of 2021 list. Just a phenomenal book. I had so much fun. I laughed so much. And reading Men-at-Arms was really, really fun. Now, I will say, it was not nearly as funny for me as Guards was. But it was almost there. It was still just really, really fun. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. This is a spoiler-free review. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. But some of it you may think, if you just don't want to know anything about the story, you might want to click off and come back later. But I'm just going to touch on a few characters and some of the stuff that's going on in the story. And, it's nothing that's going to spoil you overly much. So we pick up pretty much right after the story in Guards. It may be a few years later. A lot's been going on. Captain Vimes is getting ready to get married, and there's this assassin on the loose that has come into some information about a possible heir to the throne in Ankh-Morpork, which would mean that the patrician would no longer have need of his job because the king would be back. And so the assassin's name was Edward Death. That's right. It's spelled exactly like death, except for the apostrophe between the D and the E. And so it's Edward Death. And he comes from a long line of Deaths who were all assassins. And oh my gosh, the fun just ensues. And just the pun on his last name alone is enough to have you rolling. I was just guffawing over that whole thing. It was crazy. So he's discovered, or at least thinks he's discovered, proof that there's someone in town who is actually the heir to the throne. So I won't go into any more detail than that because you just have to read the book and find out what happens with that. We've also got an expansion happening on the City Watch. They are hiring a bunch of different races because they've been told that they need to be more accommodating of other races and other types of folk. So they've started to open the enlistment to people who are other than human. So this would mean dwarves and trolls and werewolves who are kind of human but not totally human. One of my favorite parts in the story was with Corporal Carrot. We're introduced to Corporal Carrot way back in Guards, and he is a human orphan raised by dwarves, and he's gone off to join the City Watch in Guards after finding out that he's actually human and not a dwarf, which he probably should have known, but for one reason or another didn't. And so Corporal Carrot is just hilarious. And it's no different in this book. So in this book, there's a scene where he's swearing in the new members of the City Watch, or at this time just for the Night's Watch, because they haven't become combined yet. You've got the Day Watch and the Night Watch. So he's swearing in new members for the Night Watch, and so he's reading the oath, but Corporal Carrot is a very literal person. He takes everything extremely literal. So when he gets to the parts where it says he or she, or insert name here, I insert name, instead of saying whoever's name is supposed to be saying the oath, he literally says that he reads it word for word. I insert name, do solemnly swear to abide by the rules of the city of Ankh-Morpork, and so on. And so he's making everyone say this, and instead of putting in their own name in the blank, he treats it like that's the actual verbiage that has to be said word for word. It's just, oh my gosh. That part was the most laughable part of the entire book. I was just rolling. I just couldn't contain myself. And trolls are like ants. If you read The Lord of the Rings or you watch the movies, you know the Ents, when they get together and they have an Ent moot, they can go on for several hundred years if they have to finally complete their conversation. Well, trolls are kind of like Ents. So by the time that Corporal Carrot is done and the meeting has moved on to other business, by the very end of the meeting, Detritus, the troll, who's a new member of the Night Watch, is finally getting to the end of the oath. When everybody else has moved on to other business, he's still working on the oath. It's just, oh God, it's hilarious. So that was extremely funny. But they're trying to be politically correct and everything, and they're trying to be more accepting of all the different races. So they're giving equal opportunity to all the different races in Ankh-Morpork to be on the City Watch. Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler is also in this book. He is just fantastically funny. He is a vendor who goes all over town selling his wares, and he's always well known for the fact that whenever he tries to sell you something at prices that he thinks are dirt cheap, he'd be like, and this is the best price, and I'm cutting me own throat. And that's why they call him Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler. Because he's always swearing to you that he's giving you the best price at the expense of his own livelihood. So he's cutting his own throat. It is just hilarious. So in this book, he's noticed that everybody's being more inclusive, and including the trolls and the dwarves and everything like that. So he decides to have a special collection of different geodes and different rocks to sell to the trolls. So he's got roasted rocks, and he's got different flavored rocks, and he's like, you have to have this rock because it really goes down smooth in your mouth. It's just, oh my goodness, so hilarious. And eventually he figures out that's not really working well for him, and he abandons it. But just to see his character, just a really, really good comic relief. And you've got other characters like Gaspode the dog, who basically talks dog, so nobody understands him except for one member of the Night's Watch who has a special reason that she can understand dog, and so she and the dog become friends, and they're able to communicate and figure out what's going on in the city. And the biggest thing that's happening in the city right now is someone has gone and assassinated one of the members of the Clowns Guild. And normally assassinations would be okay. In Ankh-Morpork, they are okay as long as you have a license and you've gotten it approved and everything like that. You have a certain quota that you're allowed on the Assassins Guild and the Thieves Guild and everything like that. They have their quotas that they're allowed. So as long as you've been hired to assassinate someone, more power to you, because it's legal. But someone has assassinated a member of the Clowns Guild without a permit. And so the City Watch has been enlisted to find out what's happened and why it happened, to track down the killer. And it's just so funny to watch all the antics ensue, and just on the night watch alone, because dwarves and trolls hate each other. In fact, there's a scene in the book that makes that painfully clear. Dwarves and trolls hate each other, so the fact that they even have to work together on the night watch is just a big no for a dwarf to work together with a troll is just unheard of. So that just made it super funny. And all the while, poor Captain Vimes, he's getting ready to retire, and it's kind of almost a forced retirement, because he's getting married to this really rich lady, and she wants him to experience the finer points of high society. And so even though he really enjoys being captain of the night watch, he's kind of like, well, maybe it is time to hang up the hat, and things like that. So he's trying to work his way toward getting married and eventually retiring, but he still wants to have his hand in everything. And eventually the patrician tells him, no, you can't be involved in this anymore. I know what's going on. You can't be involved. And in fact, give me your badge, give me your gun. You're completely off the case. I'm putting you on forced retirement at this point. So sad. So it's such a fun book. I highly recommend it. If you have not read Discworld, you need to read Discworld. I would definitely recommend starting with the Night Watch series. It's been so much fun so far. One thing that was really interesting in this book is someone has stolen. It looks like it should be pronounced Gone, Gonne. But they don't really know how to spell gun, so it's just spelled Gonne. But someone has stolen the gun, which is a new invention. Someone in the city invented the gun, and and now it's been stolen. And they're trying to track down. They're thinking somebody in the Thieves Guild may have stolen it, which again, they stole it without a permit. But no one really knows for sure what's going on until the very end. And I loved how this book kept you guessing until the very end of the book. It wasn't easily predictable. It wasn't painfully obvious what was going on. I mean, you really had no idea until all the clues started falling into place. And even then, it's like, okay, I'm kind of confused. And that's one thing I will say that maybe wasn't that great about the book, is I found it hard to follow at some points what exactly was going on, but everything wrapped up, and then I realized, oh, okay, now I get what's going on. It just took me a while to put all the pieces together. So maybe that's just me. I don't know, but there you go. I've rambled for long enough on Men-at-Arms. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you read Men-at-Arms? What did you think? Have you not even looked into the Discworld or into the Guard series in particular? If you have not, let me know in the comments too. Does it sound like something that would be your cup of tea? Let me know. I'd love to talk about it with you. There you go. I think I have done my best to do justice to Men-at-Arms, although the only way to really do it justice is to tell you to go read it. So that's it, guys. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. I am going to have Dr. Philip Chase on the channel for the next episode of Chaz and Friends. So I'm really excited to talk with him. That's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, Saturday the 26th. So stay tuned for that. Get it on your calendar. Don't miss out. And make sure that you are reading more books, guys. I'll talk to you soon.